interested in getting authorized user trade lines on your personal credit report? Well, let's talk about them, because in this video, I'm going to be going over some of the most common questions that I get asked about authorized user trade lines. Let's get started. One of the most common questions I get asked when it comes to trade lines are, how do they work? Well, trade lines are a very simple process. Basically, the way that authorized user trade lines work is somebody that owns a credit card. Now, this could be your mother, your friend, a family member, whomever. Say you are added to their account as an authorized user. They receive a card in the mail and they can activate it, they can give it to you to use it, or they can simply cut it up. The benefit for you would be that card reporting onto your credit report, because in return, we are going to inherit that credit card onto our credit report. Now, it is going to say an authorized user. There's two different types of trade lines. There's an authorized user and there's primary accounts. Now, authorized user accounts are great to help boost your credit score. In fact, they're the fastest way to boost your credit score. But there's a time and a place for authorized user trade lines. Now, if a friend or a family member is going to be adding you, take advantage while you can, because you can never have enough positive trade lines. The only two qualifying factors that we're really looking for are 100% on-time payment history, and we are looking for credit cards that have below a 15% credit card utilization, meaning the balance that they owe is less than 15% of the available credit limit, okay? And there's a lot of other factors, and we're going to get into all of that. I'm going to try to keep this video as simple as possible for you guys, because I know that it can be stressful, especially when you are investing into something you're just unsure of. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty. Now, say for example, you don't have any friends or family that can add you to a credit card that would qualify. Say they have a credit card, but it has late payments, or they have a credit card, but it has a high credit utilization. We simply don't need that. It would be better for you to just purchase it. Now, I provide trade lines to my clients, and we guarantee our trade lines to post to a minimum of 2 out of the 3 credit bureaus. The only reason why it would not post to the 3rd credit bureau is because this card simply does not report to that credit bureau, or you may have a fraud alert on your credit report. Now, I don't know if you guys know my story, but when I first purchased trade lines from a lady that I met on a Facebook group, it never posted, and it was never refunded to me. Basically, I paid $1,000 and I lost my money. And I always said, I never want to put people in that position. I want to be able to guarantee my trade lines to post, so that way if they don't post for some odd reason, then we can find the next best replacement for them. Now, when it comes to non-postings, we'll simply just verify that it didn't post. If you do have any fraud alerts or consumer statements on your credit report, you want to make sure that those are removed. Now, when you're looking at your credit report, what you're going to be looking for is this section right here that says consumer statement. If you have anything that says victim of fraud or fraud alert on there, you want to call in and ask the credit bureaus to delete any consumer statements or fraud alerts that are listed on your credit report. Now, in order for you to get listed as an authorized user to someone's credit account, we will need the front and back of your driver's license or state ID or passport, and we will also need front and back of your social security card. I know it's scary sending this information to people, but we have a secure site where you can upload this, and we only provide it to the cardholder if the account has an audit. But it's also a way for us to be able to verify that you are not using a CPN, because oftentimes the banks, if they know someone might be using a CPN, they will audit the account. The cardholder will have to provide front and back of the driver's license, front and back of the social security card. I went through this myself, and I actually had 2 of my Capital One credit cards shut down because I didn't have front and back of both of those documents. It was sad, but it happens. So basically, we have to have those documents, and if you don't have it, you don't have a social security card, we're not going to be able to add you. We do not work with CPNs, and in fact, if you are using a CPN, I recommend that you start working on your personal credit as well, because because that can be very dangerous. CPNs are illegal to obtain credit. Now, let's talk about what else we would need in order to get you added to someone's trade line and how this would all work. So basically, we would need you to file your order 5 business days prior to the statement date. And on our list here, I've listed all of the dates. All authorized user trade lines will report about 10 business days after the statement date. So on this list here, I've listed the statement date for some of the cards, and for others, the purchase by date. So you can also see I've listed all of the dates that the card will be reporting. So we know if the statement date is on the 21st, the estimated posting date would be around the 5th of the month next month, right? So these dates will remain the same no matter what month it is, because the statement date will always be on that day of the month, and the card will always update about 10 days after the statement date of the credit card. So you can see on the list that we give out every single month. We update it and we send it out on our email list. You will see the purchase by date and the estimated posting date. So if you need a trade line that's going to post the quickest, here you have it, right? And you also want to take note that our trade lines post for 3 months. Most of our trade lines, that is. We do have a few that have a 2-month billing cycle that are a cheaper option for people, but I'm telling you guys, most trade line companies are only going to give you 45 days. We're actually giving you 3 billing cycles. So if you can find someone out there that has a better deal than what we're offering, I will match that deal as long as you have proof, and I'll even beat it by 10% because we want to make sure that you get the best deal out there and guarantee your trade line to post. We have trade lines with limits up to $101,000 with Chase. We have a few high limit trade lines. We have Navy Federal, we have Capital One, USAA. Mind you, we can only add non-members to Navy Federal. We can only add non-members to USAA. So if you are not a member with USAA or Navy Federal, you can certainly select one of those and then become a member after the fact. Now keep in mind, here are a few things that you should also keep in. Here's another question that I get asked a lot about American Express. Now, American Express does not generally report history. So if you are looking for a trade line to report history, you do not ever want to select an American Express card. And if you notice on our list, we have very limited amount of American Express cards for that reason. I do have a couple, they're higher limits, but again, you're not going to get the history. And when it comes to trade lines, the most impactful types of trade lines are going to be those with the highest amount of history. Now, every situation is different, and another one of the most common questions I get is, how much is this trade line going to boost my credit score? Well, I don't know, because everyone's credit profile is different. So it all depends on the data on your credit profile, but I can give you kind of a general answer. Generally speaking, you can expect anywhere from 3 to 5 points per year. So when I got a trade line that was about 4 years old, it was about a $20,000 trade line that gave me about 35, 40 points. And I was happy with that at that time. Now, if you add a trade line that has, say, 15 years, you're going to get a much higher boost. But if you are a client that has a very thin credit profile and don't have much credit at all, I could add a 2-year trade line to your credit report and it would give you probably 100 points. But if you're someone with a collection or an active derogatory account or several active derogatory accounts and we add a trade line, it just might not do much, because when you have collections or derogatory accounts on your credit report, you don't want to add trade lines. Have you ever heard the theory you don't want to put sugar on? Well, that's the same concept that we want to keep here. We can't put sugar on shit. And in this example, meaning if you have collections on your credit report, if you have active accounts that are in charge-off status and are reporting an active derogatory balance, we don't want to add trade lines. If you have one credit bureau that's free and clear of any negative items, perfect. Let's do it. You can start building with that and just freeze the other bureaus when you're applying. But when it comes down to trade lines, they can be useful for getting approved for an apartment building or some sort of housing, because a lot of housing doesn't necessarily look at the negative items. They're just really concerned about the credit score itself. So, for example, I've worked with many people that were in the process of just getting approved for a rental home, and they had to have, a 650 or a 700 to qualify for that home, and we were able to add trade lines and that qualified them. So, you just have to figure out what's going to be best for you, and sometimes we just don't know, and that's why it's best to just book a call. We'll go over your credit report. We'll see what the best options would be for you, because I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands of people that wanted trade lines to boost their credit, but when it came down to it, they just simply weren't ready for them at that time because they had other things that they would need to take care of to better optimize their credit profile. It's best to have this be kind of the cherry on the top. You've done everything, you've cleaned your credit report, you've paid down your debt, you've done everything you can do, but your credit score just ain't quite where you want it to be, right? Or you just have a really thin credit profile and you want to try to get higher limit credit cards. That's another reason why you would add authorized user trade lines, because they are going to help you get higher limits on your personal credit. Now, this doesn't necessarily work on the business side because authorized user trade lines are just for personal credit. In fact, I just had this guy that was trying to scam people, and someone brought it to my attention and they said, "Is this legit?" And they were American Express business credit cards. Now, anyone can be added to an American Express business credit card as an authorized user, but there's no benefit because you're not going to see that card report anywhere, okay? So even if they were to charge you, they could add you, they could show you that they added you, but it's not going to report to your personal credit, so it's not going to help you at all. You're not going to get that limit anywhere. It's not going to be on your business credit, nowhere. Okay, so it's going to be a complete waste. And that's why when it comes to trade lines, it's best to get a trade line, say like PenFed, Navy Fed, Chase, Capital One. Most of these trade lines are going to report to all three. The only trade lines that I really have only seen report to two bureaus are Bank of America and Citibank. The only banks that I don't fully trust to report to all three are Bank of America and Citibank. Now, I had clients where they wanted a Bank of America, they got it, and it did report to all three. And again, we guarantee that your trade line will post to a minimum of 2 out of the 3 bureaus. But for the most part, most of our cards do report to all 3 credit bureaus. But again, take off those fraud alerts. Make sure that your credit reports are unlocked so that way you allow the card to report. And if for some reason it still doesn't report after about 10 days past the time that we were expecting it to, I'll just need to log into your Experian, verify that it did not report, and we'll go ahead and issue a replacement for the next best option so that way we can get that replaced for you. No worries at all. So this is our list that we send out every month. Like I said, a lot of times the statement dates will remain the same, but our card inventory does change. So you always want to reach out and verify that the card is in fact still available, because our highest limits and our highest history trade lines go the quickest, especially when we're having a sale. So I'll just go through these columns with you really quick. In order for you to get your trade line, you're just going to know the card ID number. This is going to tell you who the card is with, the lender. So for example, if you wanted EK002 with Chase, that's going to be $101,000 credit limit. Yes, $101,000. We also have $100,000 Chase trade line, and that open date is November of 2015. So it would have, approximately about 9 years of history. So that's a pretty good card. It would report for 3 months. So the number of cycles means the number of months that is going to report to your credit report. And then we have the purchase by date. So we would need you to place your order and submit all of your documents before the 21st of the month in order to get on for the next billing cycle. And then this card would report to your credit reports around the 2nd of the month. And that's the same dates every single month. If you want to extend past the 3-month period, you most certainly can. And we offer a 30% discount for those that are looking to extend past that period. What are some of the most common reasons why someone would want to get a trade line? Well, let me tell you my story with trade lines. They're the fastest way to boost your credit score, and I was stuck in that $500 approval range for a long time before I finally understood what trade lines were and how to buy them. Once I figured that out, I was able to buy high limit trade lines, and in return, I was getting approved for high limits. Basically, it's called piggybacking. You're piggybacking off someone else's good credit, and voila, now you can get higher limits, which can open up doors for you on the business side to get higher limits. This can also be a game changer for you when it comes to allowing your children to have excellent credit by the time that they turn 18. Because if you guys didn't know, I have a ebook that is building credit for kids, and this is available inside of my mentorship as well. All my ebooks are discounts to the trade line, so much more. So if you haven't joined the credit community, make sure that you have joined that. But I've left the link below to access our trade lines, to access the community, and to access the ebook Credit for Kids, because it teaches you how to build your credit and be able to add your children to your credit cards and what credit cards you can add them to, so that way they'll have a 700 credit score by the time they are 18. It is a complete game changer. You're going to get your credit in order, so that way you can help all of your children be able to leverage credit to build wealth, buy properties at a very young age, and continue to buy properties, because properties are one of the number one ways to build wealth. It is a wonderful asset, and let me tell you guys, you are the one that is going to change it all for your family. You are setting everyone else up for success. No one did this for us, so it's up to you to change the narrative and to make sure that your family is set up for success. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. If you haven't by now, make sure that you have followed me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And if you are interested in getting some cool credit repair merch, visit my store. It's creditrepairmerch.com. It's also connected to my YouTube store, and make sure to leave me a comment, give me a huge thumbs up. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you on our credit community, because I'm sure that you're going to want a discount to our trade lines. And if you want to go ahead and get on our mailing list, just go ahead. There's a link below to get on our mailing list, because we send out discounts and different offers for our trade lines all of the time. And again, we're willing to meet or beat anybody's pricing, because our trade lines are going to post for longer than anyone else's out there at the price that we're giving them to you guys. So get on the mailing list, check out our inventory, because we want you to make sure that you are investing in yourself the right way, and you know what to do with your trade lines once they post, because you really want to be able to leverage them to get credit cards, be able to get high approval credit cards, and go to the right banks that are going to fund you high limits. So take action.